Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for your patience. We are live. We appreciate you hanging on, and we're sorry for the slight delay, but you can chalk it up to hashtag 2020. Good morning to the East Coast, and for Maria and Thomas, our incredible presenters in Stockholm, good evening, and welcome to everyone who is joining us today. I am Jonathan Graham, and I lead the creative at BeReal's New York City office, and this is the newest installment of The Download, a series of digital events presented by us at BeReal, focused on innovation and storytelling and how we create cultural conversations around brands in today's landscape. This one is very exciting. Today's topic, how to reinvent UGC in the TikTok generation. There's a lot to talk about today, everything from producing an entire campaign during this age of social distancing, to creating a very strong brand partnership with a big musical artist, to managing 2 global brands on one project. But let's root this conversation in the innovation itself that Maria and Thomas have put out for the world to play with. BeReal works a lot in the fashion category, and it seems every year we are very fortunate to partner with fashion mega brand H&M when they launch their signature collabs. This year, the partner for the collaboration was Kangol, a legendary streetwear label known both for its kangaroo logo and for over a 30-year run on Samuel Jackson's head. Kangol is actually, for those of you who don't know, an English brand that was founded in the 1920s. With these authentic roots, Kangol really emerged in line with hip-hop culture in the late 80s and early 90s through the signature hats. But it's that authenticity and cultural roots that today make Kangol a streetwear wardrobe staple for fans around the world. So let me introduce you to today's host and then get out of the way. Maria Lashari, who I like to consider one of the great antidotes to traditional advertising. She's been a creative in New York and Paris, and we're now very lucky to have her in our Stockholm office. I'm inspired by what I consider a real empathy in Maria's approach. She really focuses on inviting and involving people into her love of culture and music and art and fashion. And Thomas Aon, who sits at the intersection of French and strategy. And like Maria, Thomas represents a new standard and continues to drive us away from more traditional methods of thinking and towards more exciting ways to celebrate our love of culture. So you two, please take us away.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Blushing over there.
Yeah, definitely.
Bonjour everyone. So we are Thomas and Maria, 2 members of the team who make this idea come to life. We are super pleased to show you the work today. As Jonathan mentioned, we started working on that project right at the beginning of the pandemic. We were actually working on another project for H&M that got postponed because of Corona. And there was such a great energy between the client and the team that they gave us this project. So yeah, let's jump to it. So let's start with Mabel. I don't know if you know this person. She is not really big yet. She's an upcoming British pop star who recently won a Brit Awards. What's cool is like H&M and Kangol put Mabel in the first brief that they gave us, which was a smart thing to do because using an artist is true to Kangol's legacy to music and the deep connection that Kangol has with the music world. She's definitely the voice of Gen Z. She a bit a la Billie Eilish. She speaks about her anxiety. She's really close to her audience through social media. So she was a perfect match for that collaboration. And for those who might know her parents, she's actually the daughter of Nene Cherry and the producer of Massive Attack. So 2 icons of the 90s. Mabel also created an outfit in the collection. And speaking about the collection, here is it. At least a part of it. The collection was composed of 31 pieces. from the bucket hat to second skin to nice accessory to puffer jacket. As the head of design at H&M puts it, Kangol times H&M Fit Mabel is a dream collaboration for us at H&M, united an iconic streetwear brand with one of the most authentic and genuine young music artists around. It's about the 90s streetwear updated for today. So speaking about our audience, here is it. We actually dealt with H&M Divided, which caters towards the young, the teenager at H&M. So our core target was between 16 and 21 years old. And here you can see some emotional drivers that are key for that audience. Overall, H&M's mission is to empower teens to become who they want to be. And the brief for the challenge we had to solve was really something really humble from H&M. They were, okay, we lost track of the need of the teenager today. We lost track with them. How do we connect with the most connected generation ever? How do we create a campaign that they will engage with? So at Be Real, our secret sauce actually lies on that slide. This is the way we think modern brands are done. So the idea is basically not to create advertising. It's a bit about that as well, but it's fundamentally about creating value for consumer, creating things that are worth spending time with. So it can be telling stories that are interesting to talk about, or creating experiences, interface that are interesting to play with or to use. And the beauty of the idea we're going to go through is that it taps in the middle, actually does both of the two circles here on that slide. So with every project, we start from the audience. And we thought there was a really interesting tension in that quote. As you know, Gen Z couldn't be a less analog generation. And at the same time, they are like idolizing, fetishizing the 90s. So as a strategist, and the way we work here is to put some creative starter for the creative team. One of the first creative starter that we really liked was the 90s meet the 20s. Something that really echoed really well the collection that was 90s streetwear inspired, updated for the code of today. So if we deep dive a bit more in our audience live in a digital world that they literally make themselves. So they are like, they shoot the video, they add the filter, they stick the stickers, they write funny caption, they literally make their digital world themselves. And there is something that we thought was really, really key in that world, and especially when you see those TikTok content, the way Gen Z posts on TikTok is really another way that we, at least millennials, do. It's way more raw. They are not scared to post something that is not perfect. They are not scared to show their personal side and their flaws. So there is something that we really, really like. They are basically the self-made generation, and they are the self-made generation. When we think about it, they are successful entrepreneurs, but they are also self-made generation in the way that they create content on an everyday basis, and we really, really love that. So, of course, there are some that are even more than others in terms of the self-made creator. This person is called Omi. She's called actually Autonomy on Instagram. And she's one of the best Instagram filter creator in the world today. She really embodies the self-made generation and has been a big source of inspiration for us on that project. She has a really interesting story. She was always really interested in computer, but decided to create a mini line of fashion when she was 16 years old. And she decided to do everything by herself. and to create like a website to showcase her collection. But then the website got hacked. So she decided to become an ethical hacker, so it would never happen again. So she decided to study the ethical hacking, and between her bachelor degree and her master degree, over summer, she basically started to be involved in Spark AR on her free time. And she really, basically at the beginning of Spark AR, started to test and play with it. And of course, what we want to speak about today are Instagram filter. Just for you to give you a little bit of history around Instagram filter, they appear on Story in 2017. And in 2000, they were like basically a replication of the Snapchat lenses. But in 2018, Instagram opened like a closed beta for creators, celebrities, brands to basically create their own filter. And then in 2019, they open up that beta for everyone to create. So this is why you've seen, I guess you've seen on your IG, that there is a filter craze right now. Everyone is using filters since 1 year. They have become like totally mainstream. So what we love is like the Gen Z really appropriate the filter. They have become a much loved self-expression tool for the self-made generation. They became like a visual canvas to perform and explore identity, gender, and beauty in infinite new ways. So the question was, how can we hack it? How can we hack filter? How can we mix the filter with music? How can we hack it to make something that has never been done before? So hand over to Maria to tell you a bit about the idea.
Yes, so I'm just gonna take over after you, Thomas. You were tapping onto our idea actually, but since just to tap back to what you were saying, since Mabel is a pop star and music is a way for her to find identity, and that's how she communicates with her audience and with the world. And filters is one of the biggest expressional tools on social media right now. We wanted to merge the two worlds and create this never been done music video to launch this collaboration. So the idea on the next slide, Thomas, was to launch the collab with a unique set of Instagram filters that our audience could just use themselves and make their own music video to one of Mabel's new singles. So we created 6 different filters, different worlds that people could step into and make it their own, basically. So how it actually worked is that we wanted to make the mechanics super simple for everyone to use. So you just recorded yourself in a 15-second video in all the filters. You post them in the right order, and the music would just play out in a seamless Instagram story. So that was basically the whole idea and how we wanted to launch it. So this music video way of doing things didn't just revolutionize the way we do music videos, because if you remember back in the 90s, to create a great music video, you had to have a lot of people. If you wanted to do it like Hype Williams style, you needed a lot of money. But today, with today's modern tools, the only thing you need if you're part of the audience is your phone. So on the next slide, I just want to talk about how we wanted to create this campaign. So basically tapping back to these insights that Thomas was talking about. This is a generation who just make things on their phones, and they don't have a lot of budget, but they do have big aspirations and big dreams that they want to realize. And this generation doesn't see obstacles like maybe we did back in the days. They just reach out to their friends and they make things happen. So in order to make this campaign true to Mabel and the way of how the audience do things, we invited Mabel's real crew and friends to take part and to create this music video together. And that's just true to how the Gen Z work in general. So the whole campaign was created inside Be Real, and with three of our main offices, one in Barcelona, Stockholm, and actually London. But it was also created during the pandemic. And as we all know, the pandemic didn't really help when it comes to producing things or production. But we managed to just do things and create things just because we do have 6 offices around the world. So we collaborated with London during this production, and we created this visual world with 6 different themes, and each theme was connected to one of our filters. So the theme was just we wanted the themes to just reflect the Gen Z's way of doing things. They just do things the way they want. So, and it doesn't really have to make sense. So that's where our mind started to think about this surrealistic world where anything is possible. Things like flying cars without a driver or wheels, and things like flying in the sky with a pink background, or like appearing in a magical tunnel, Hype Williams style, and just like vibing with your friends, or just falling hats from the sky. So that basically became our like artistic direction for the entire campaign and for every single filter as well. So on the next slide, I wanted to just like deep dive into like the actual filters. I'm not gonna talk about all the filters because I do want you to try them at home on H&M's Instagram account. But this filter is all about like having fun in this surrealistic fantasy garden. And basically you just like step into this world and this filter just lets you just catch hats with your head. So the only thing you do is just to like tap into the filter, and the hats just starts to fall from the sky. And here it's great to just talk about this process of creating filters, because it's not as easy as you think when you're working with the Facebook and when you're trying to create something that where the brand feels incorporated and not just an experience for the audience. So in this case, we had to figure out a way to just show one logo at a time on the screen, because that was basically one of the Facebook rules. You can't show more than one logo on the screen. So one way for us to solve that together with our Barcelona team was to, every time a hat was just landing on your head, the logo would appear. So you wouldn't see the logo when the hat was flowing down, but you would see it when it was landing on your head. And on the next slide, I want to talk about this pink cloud filter, which is currently the best performing filter on Instagram, based on some of the insight that Thomas was talking about. So I want you just to talk about how when we create at Be Real, we don't just try to create an experience which is like fun to engage with. We try to tap into all these insights around Gen Zs, like what kind of colors do they like? And obviously they are super into pink, and they like this fact of like just having that color as a backdrop. And that was one of the insights when we were creating this one. And we saw a lot of selfies where people had the sky as a backdrop. So we just wanted to like incorporate that into a filter, but in a surrealistic way. Yeah, and in that fifth sky, pink heaven sky filter, we also wanted to create something unique for our top level Mabel and Kangol fans. So we decided to create something that the only way to see it was if you followed Mabel on Instagram or followed H&M during this release. And that was a hidden pair of AR glasses that you could access if you switched to rear camera on your iPhone or your phone. So the only thing you did was that you found a patch from the collection, you switched to rear camera and the fifth filter, you scan the logo, beep, and you would and the glasses would just appear on your head. This is also a great way to just talk about how BeReal loves to like work with brands. We do want to incorporate things. We did want to like incorporate things from the collection and not just make beautiful filters just to showcase our capability within our agency. And kudos to Barcelona, who which is just badass at creating AR filters at BeReal. And on the next slide here, I just want to talk about again, like how we managed to make this whole like production come to life, since no one was able to fly anywhere due to Corona. We had to set up with a supervisor on set. We shot everything on blue screen in London, but we were sitting in Stockholm directing everything from a live link and watching playbacks and just like picking the best images and trying to like make everything work. And I just love the fact that we could do that now and create more sustainable campaign without traveling, but also all these amazing tools we have right now, like video calls and WhatsApp messages, because that basically those tools just make such great sense and just helped us to make it all come to life. And on
Can we
the
speak
next
about
screen, on what else? Yeah, the Kangol-Guinea. Yeah, so on the left corner, you'll see like a car which we actually created especially for the campaign, and it was an iteration of over 100 cars because we had we couldn't have the car look like an accurate like Lamborghini, so we had to find a way to go beyond that and create our own thing. So just removing the wheels wasn't enough. We had to just like recreate a whole car, and the whole team in Stockholm just like dedicated with true passion to create this one-of-a-kind car for the collection, and we made it happen just 1 or 2 days before the shoot. Which is a great way to just like highlight that with true passion you can make a car in 2 weeks. Yeah, just to talk a little bit about like the process of creating these filters. We did them in collaboration with the Barcelona office, and that office is basically a great office where we have a lot of like great developers that are specialized on these kind of experience with just web and AR and digital experiences in general. So that was just a great and amazing way for us to actually make this campaign due to like according to the time plan, because working internally or having cross office collaboration just helps the whole process to work smoothly. And we did have a few moments where we just had to reach out to our Barcelona studio to fix things just because we couldn't get them validated through Facebook, and we just had the privilege of just like calling them up and have them fix it super fast. So it's just great to have more than one office to work with at BeReal. So yeah, just on the finalizing parts here, the campaign is still live and out in the world in more than 45 countries, and we're just excited to see where it's going to go. The filters are still going strong on Instagram, so it's just great to just see everything that's been done. And thinking back to the whole process, obviously when you're working with H&M, you have to do a lot of content to cover a campaign like this. Yeah, and on the topic of UGC, I don't know if you want to talk about it tomorrow or if I should just talk about like
Go
our
ahead.
way of doing it. Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
So we just wanted to establish an engagement strategy with our audience in mind and not just market to them and create this kind of like UGC world of content with the audience instead of just marketing to them. And we feel that that's the way to go if you do want to connect with this kind of audience today. They are better creator than us sometimes, and they do know what they're doing with their phones, and they can create amazing things, and the content just keeps on like appearing under the hashtag that we're following, and it's just great to see um, things that can happen if you let go of the wheels and just give them the opportunity and the freedom to create themselves.
So some quick takeaway that could be inspiring for your brand or for the first thing really echoes what Maria just said. Like, don't be afraid to hand over the reins to your audience because they are more creative than all of us. I mean, the moment you know your audience, you really identify who they are and what make them tick. If you have something really solid, I mean, and really chapeau bas to H&M to trust us on those stuff. But it's really amazing to see what people do with the filter. I mean, like, the only thing is like we need to start with a story, basically put a framework and give your audience the tools to continue with it. As I told you a bit at the beginning, there's the self-made generation. They are like, it needs to, the key is to let it open for people to have fun with it. And they really, the self-made generation inspired by this hacking mentality of coming from gaming like Minecraft, Animal Crossing. It's something that like I think we nailed it. And like the point about the filter, the beauty about the filter is that you basically give them the tool with a minimal input to create, and you have something that's kind of cool with a maximal output. So, and also the beauty with the filter, I don't know if you know exactly how it works, but everyone becomes a brand ambassador of your brand because you have the brand or the name of the filter in the top left corner of your story. So that's something that's really interesting, even though like they are not wearing the product. In a way, they are like becoming an ambassador of your brand. And I would say the more important takeaway, we don't just follow culture, create it. I mean, there are so many examples of brand like just trying to sneak into culture. But I think like right now it's not enough. I mean, like brand needs to create culture as well. Like, there are so many nice examples. I mean, the first one is Nike that comes to my mind. But like there is something that we really like at Be Real, that brand should create culture. And one of our little recipe to do so is we like to hack mentality and to hack platform and format, and basically change the way formats or platform and create another type of way to use it so that's something that we really like.
Yeah, and just to add on that to what you were saying now, Tama, like, is this a music video or is it an ad? I mean, the lines are just becoming blurred, and anything could become advertising if you're doing it right. And the magic really happens when you manage to connect with the audience and just like create something with the culture and not just for them to consume. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I think as we open it up for questions from our audience now, and we'd like to hear from you and any questions you might have pertaining to this discussion. I'd like to start with one question for you guys as we wait for others to roll in. Maria, you talk a lot about not just talking at people or putting a piece of communications out in the world, but letting the audience be a part of the story and a co-creator of the story. Could you talk a little bit more about how that applies to engaging influencers? I think this project is such a great example of, it doesn't feel like you have a spokesperson. It feels like it's authentically coming both from the brand, but also from the artist that you've engaged. Do you have any thoughts about that, and how, as we kind of create culture, as you said, kind of sharpening that point about engaging influencer culture as well?
I think that Thomas is the best one to answer that question, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we also worked on an influencer strategy. So one of the things that you need to understand here is that we use Mabel and our channel as really a first way to engage with our audience. But then we saw that we needed some people beyond our audience. So we worked on an influencer strategy where we basically ask influencer to wear the collection and to have fun with the filter to promote them. So it was as simple as that. So some could do all of them, some could do just the one that they liked, but the idea was just to start making the ball roll, basically. So you're right, Jonathan. Like, even though we had Mabel, her crew, a little help from influencer is always something good to have at the beginning of the campaign.
Yes. A question came in. People want to know, how involved was Mabel in the creation of the filters themselves?
Maria?
I mean, Mabel was always a part of the whole discussion all the time. If you're a pop star, you do want to see what's being like produced with your name on it. So she was on there. She was talking to us through WhatsApp messages. She had to approve every single filter, and she was actually giving us some advice on what she wanted, what kind of filter she wanted, and how she liked every filter. So she was actually one of the early adopters and the testing person, just to make sure that we created filter for her fans and her followers, as well as the audience. So that was great to work with her.
That's great. And I think there's a great follow-up question that came in. Can you talk a bit more about the process of developing these filters with Instagram?
Yeah, so the process of creating filters on using Spark AR, which is a tool from Facebook, is kind of daunting. You do have to go through different kinds of steps to make sure that your filter just has all the requirements and to be uploaded and used by everyone, because you do have restrictions like what's showing in your filter and how big the filter is. You can't go beyond like 4 megabytes, and you do need to like manage to compress the whole file, or else the whole file will be lagging. And then also you have this approval process that you need to think about when you're creating and making things coming live. You need to prepare in beforehand, like 1 or 2 weeks before, have the filter ready, just because the process can take more than 2-3 weeks to actually launch. So you just need to be aware of all the waiting and all the validations before getting it live.
And I'm sure there were so many considerations, creative and audience and technical and otherwise, when you were exploring which platforms to really activate against. Did you consider other major platforms other than Instagram, like TikTok?
Yeah, we did actually something on TikTok. We wanted to make the idea pure on Instagram, highlighting Instagram filter today. But we had like also a little amplification idea on TikTok, where Mabel and her crew did some dance move. So we had a little dance challenge. So yeah, that was something that we did that works actually really well. On TikTok, we had also influencer who started the activation to give some momentum around it. So yes, we did something on TikTok, yeah.
Let's shift gears just a little bit. As you guys mentioned, this entire campaign was created soup to nuts, as it were, after the lockdown per se. And can you talk a little bit about what specific challenges that you faced in this really kind of multi-layered creation, but also maybe shine a light on some of the specific solutions you guys discovered?
Yeah, I mean, I've been touching them during the presentation, but I mean, all these tools we have to communicate with each other was basically crucial. And we use different tools to communicate with different audiences. Obviously, talking to the brand and the client and each other, we used video calls, and Zoom was just like a good internet connection. We had to have that. But when we were talking to like directing the Mabel and our crew, we actually turned to WhatsApp, which like writing short messages on how to just like act in front of the camera and how to catch the hats. And just don't take that for granted. It's just great to have all these technical tools and digital tools to when everything is just locking down around us.
It's very inspiring, not just the work itself that went out in the world, but everything that kind of goes into to making it happen. I think that kind of wraps up the questions we've had from the audience. So I want to thank you two greatly for the work itself and for taking the time to share it with us today. And we're looking forward to the next piece that comes from you.
Thank you to the whole team.
Thank you to the whole team, Barcelona as well, and Stockholm.
Terrific. Everyone, that wraps it up for this edition of The Download, and we will look for you in the next one coming soon.